The first beer I ever had, I think I was, man, about 12. 6th grade, I think, before I dropped out. I don't remember where I got the beer. I think my friend Jimmy had some or got some from his brother, and we went to this like school playground and we had drank a couple of beers and a little disoriented, and I remember something happened in the family and my grandparents had to come find me and they found me, and I remember getting into their car and like my grandmother being like, "Man, what is wrong with you?" I remember like maybe the second time I drank this, I was at a friend's house and his mom used to tell me, "You're an alcoholic." And it was like the second time I'd ever drank, but at the time I thought she was crazy, but I know what she means now. I mean, like, I just loved it. Like, like I wanted more. But I think I told myself that, knowing that I've got an addictive personality, man, do not pick up anything else. Like, I had instilled that into my brain, like, do not even. I mean, we started drinking back when I played in those bands, like, pretty young, 14. Like, we were kids, nobody had any money, so, like, whenever somebody would get money, they would, like, "Hey, let's go get a bunch of beer," and everybody would, go over, and I guess, like, the older I got, the more I started to slowly drink more. I eventually just, became a pretty heavy drinker. There was this one time where me and my friend Dijon, these girls wanted to go to this high school football game. And one of the girls had this ugly old brown station wagon. And back then we used to we would get like a case of quarts because they were cheap, I remember we had put them in the back of the station wagon, and then we went with the girls to watch the football game. Me and Dijon were like, "Man, this sucks. We're bored. Let's go out to the car and drink some beer." We go out into the parking lot and we find the station wagon, and we're like, "Man, the key's not working." We're like, "Man, what's going on?" After about 5 minutes, finally I'm like, "Oh, wait a minute, dude, the thing's open." So I just opened up the door and it just opened up. We tear the station wagon apart looking for this beer, like, "Man, somebody stole all of our beer." And then I get out of the car for a minute and I'm looking around, I'm like, "Oh shit. Dijon, is that the car over there?" We finally got to the right car, but man, it was funny because there was a cop sitting there the entire time. One morning, I woke up, still drunk. Head was pounding, real foggy, and I wake up and I'm thinking, man, my apartment is so clean. Wow, my girlfriend must have cleaned my apartment. And then I'm like, wait a minute, somebody took my entertainment center. And I was like, wait a minute, this isn't my apartment. And I was like, man, what in the world? So as I'm leaving that apartment, I see that the door had been kicked in. I must have been so drunk that, maybe I came up the stairs and thought I was at my apartment and my key wasn't working and I was getting frustrated. So I eventually just kicked the door in and then just crashed on the couch. And I got, really lucky because nobody was there and nobody ever found out it was me. But I remember I was so scared after that. I was like, man, I'm going to jail. This is breaking and entering. And yeah, that was pretty crazy. I remember a friend of mine, he asked me to come pick him up from work. And so I told him, man, I'm really tired and I've already been drinking. And I said, anyways, I wound up going to pick him up and, I shouldn't have been driving. I was just tired, drunk, exhausted, and he wanted to go to a stop at a bar, and I went into the bar with him. You know, I think that there was a cop like nearby, like watching people leave the bar, and I left him there because I was just too tired and too exhausted, like I was ready to go to sleep, you know. So I left him there, but on my way, when I left, a cop got behind me and, you know, got me for a DWI. I got put on probation, and, you know, back then I was still drinking a lot, but it seemed like every time, like the day before I have to go to meet the probation officer, like, I don't know, man, some girls would call or something and, hey, let's go party, you know, and then, like, never fails. Like, I'd wind up staying out all night drinking, you know. So it seemed like every time I went in there, I smelled like a brewery, you know. And, when I smoked weed, and I wasn't supposed to be smoking weed, and they give you a urine test, and I failed that. So anyways, they gave me a motion to revoke. And a friend of mine was like doing like all the fences in the neighborhood. The building inspectors had stopped him and asked him who they worked for. And I guess since they knew I was licensed over there, they were like, oh, we work for him, you know? So anyways, my friend was like, hey man, can you go down to this place and help me straighten this out, you know? When I went in there, they were like letting me have it. Like, Marcus, I can't believe you, the head of your company, would let this guy take the heat for building these fences, and I had nothing to do with it. Like, I didn't build one fence. That was totally him. But then right after that, he was like, Marcus, let me see your driver's license. I'm like, here, you know, like, they had a warrant for my arrest, so they put me in jail. I was in jail for like 30 days, and once I was in there, I mean, that was kind of like the end of me working over there. I was seeing some girl at the time, and she lived in this little apartment complex, and there was like a bar like a couple blocks down the street, and, you know, got kind of drunk. I met a friend there, and I decided to walk back, and on my way back, I got jumped by like 6 guys. I remember them following me, and I was like, in my mind, I was thinking, man, these guys are gonna jump me. And then I remember running, and then I remember thinking, man, there's no use. There's too many of them. So I remember falling to the ground. They started to kick me, and then all of a sudden I remember waking up. There was an ambulance there. The cops were there. My brother was there. I guess they had to resuscitate me or whatever. I don't know what happened exactly, but then they were trying to get the guys for attempted murder. I couldn't ID any of them because, you know, I was running from them. And I didn't really get a good look at anybody, so I don't think they ever caught those people, but I remember I had a concussion after that. Like, I had waited like a week. And finally, I had to call my dad, and I was like, man, could you take me to the hospital? Like it felt like my brain was moving around in my head. I think that was probably when I started to think, man, I need to like start thinking about quitting drinking. But I kept drinking, and then after that, and then it just got to the point to where like I would have to keep like 2 beers on the side of my bed, so that when I woke up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom, I'd have to slam the 2 beers so I could, like, you know, keep from shaking. You know, it just got to the point to where I stopped eating. And then, like I remember praying, like, God, please get me off this. If you help me get off of this, I'll never, ever touch it again, you know? Eventually, the way I had to, like, I mean, I was literally drinking myself to death. And I guess, I used to have, like, I mean, I was, like, throwing up all the time. Like, they were trying to give me, like, this thing for nausea, but that wasn't working out. So my mom just wound up taking me to the hospital, and they're like, okay, you need to sign this piece of paper so we can take care of you. I remember that was the hardest signature to make, because I knew that once I signed that, that was the end. Like, that was the end of my good old buddy drinking, So as soon as I signed that piece of paper, I think they shot me up full of Ativan, and then all my tremors and shaking went away, and I was perfectly fine. Take me away. They took me upstairs to the detox area, and I stayed there for about a week. And, they checked my blood level of alcohol, and they said, man, your blood alcohol level was lethal. They said that if it was anybody else, they would have been dead. I definitely felt like that. I felt like a walking dead man. Like, that's what I felt. But that was it. I was done. Like, they told me, yeah, okay, now you need to go to AA. I was like, no. I'm done. Like, I'm done. I was so tired of just feeling sick all the time, and it was just no longer fun. All I wanted to do was quit, and I did, and that was it. That's all I needed. I had to get past the withdrawals, and once I did, I got off of it, and I haven't touched it ever since. When I quit drinking, I had to go to the hospital. I remember looking out the window, and there was fireworks, and I was like, wow, I forgot it's the 4th of July. Like, it was almost like Independence Day. It was, independent from alcohol, What's crazy is about, 6 months later, a friend of mine moved to Florida to help in the aftermath of Hurricane Charlie. And he was like, man, you need to get out here. These houses are just so wiped out, man. We could really use your help, And at first I didn't want to go, but then I had a boxer, a dog that had puppies, and it was their second litter, and the puppies weren't doing very well, and I would try to get them, I was trying to nurse them back to health. I took them to the vet, and there was nothing they could really do, but I literally watched every one of those puppies die in my hand, and as soon as the last puppy died, I went out to the car and started driving to Florida. As I was driving through New Orleans, New Year's Eve, there was fireworks everywhere. Yeah, it was almost like the fireworks were like a sign, letting me know that things are gonna be okay,